Hello, and welcome to another week of Burning Hearts, our 2026 Bible reading plan. This week we are reading 5 chapters from Exodus. Now, I have to say, we're skipping a bunch of chapters, and my heart hurts because the chapters are so important. I want to draw your attention to Exodus chapter 3. This is probably one of the most important chapters in the entire Bible. This is the chapter where God finally reveals his personal name to Moses. This is with the burning bush and all of that, and the name that he gives isn't actually like a name or a noun, it's actually a verb. And really what it means is to be. And so it gets translated as like I am, or I will be who I will be. And it is a verb that really, from very early in the life of Israel, it puts into their heads and hearts that God is active, that God is moving, that God is going to be known by what he does. And the name I am who I am, or I will be who I will be, it raises the important question, well, who God will you be? And the entire story of the Exodus answers that question definitively. And the question is, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of slavery. God is a God of freedom. God is a God of liberation. God is a God of life who wants to bring those who are dead to life, who are in slavery to freedom, those who are lost to being found. Talked about that on Sunday. This is who God is. And even the name of God reiterates that point, right? If it's I am who I am, I will be who I will be, it's, well, who has God shown himself to be? And the Exodus is the story for the Jewish people, for the Old Testament, that really does define who God is. It's why when Jesus comes in the New Testament, the amount of themes that the gospel writers and Paul and Peter and the rest are all playing off of the Exodus, because what they see in Jesus is, again, another radical definition of who God is. But what they see is it in terms of a new Exodus from not the Exodus from the slavery of Egypt, but the Exodus from the slavery of sin, of death, of the forces of power, of the powers of darkness and evil that have kept us in slavery, in bondage. The day is up, and there's a new Exodus because of Jesus, and this shows us who God is. And so when you read through the New Testament, if you pay attention to Exodus and read it carefully, you will see the themes are crisscrossing over you, like to the point where it's hard to understand the New Testament without reading these fundamental and foundational stories and language, verbiage in the Exodus. So read Exodus, read it carefully. We're skipping over a bunch of things that it hurts my heart to skip over. We're doing Exodus 2 and 3, and then skipping to Exodus 12, and then skipping 13 and going to 14. Read 13 if you have the chance, because 13 is super important with the pillar of cloud, and there's just so many important stories that unfortunately we can't squeeze in. But read this week. I would love for you to ask me questions. Let's talk about it. And I hope that as you're reading, not only are you amazed by this God of liberation, of freedom, who's going to lead them through the wilderness, and that's a whole nother part of Exodus, but also see how the New Testament, see how Jesus really, his entire story is just a new, bigger version of the Exodus, kind of. It's why Jesus has the Lord's Supper. The Last Supper is a Passover meal. The Passover is one of the chapters we'll read. It's a Passover meal because Jesus sees his work on the cross and resurrection and ascension and sending of the Spirit. All of that is a new Exodus to new freedom, to new life, to a new promised land, which is not a land, but it's the entire earth is our inheritance. Anyway, I could talk about this forever. Have a great week of reading. Enjoy it. And please ask me questions. Watch the Bible Project. Their stuff is great.